The member for Dunkley.
Mr Speaker, my question is to the Prime Minister. Will the Prime Minister update the House on how the government is reducing cost-of-living pressures and helping hard-working Australians to get ahead, including in my electorate of Dunkley?
The Prime Minister has the call.
Thank you, Mr Speaker, and I thank the member for Dunkley and recall the many businesses we visited in his electorate and how important it is for them and the jobs of the men and women that work for them to have affordable and reliable power. Now, Mr Speaker, the biggest pressure, single pressure, on household and business budgets right now is expensive power bills. And what we've seen in South Australia, thanks to the Labor Party's crazy devotion to left ideology instead of practical planning and engineering, what we've seen is the most expensive and the least reliable electricity in Australia. Now, we know today that the Leader of the Opposition advocates a 50% renewable energy target. And he was asked 4 times today on the ABC what it would cost. He couldn't and wouldn't answer the question. Again and again, he ran away from the facts. And finally, Sabra Lane pressed on. She said she was absolutely indefatigable, but he wouldn't give her an answer until finally she summed up the attitude that most Australians have with the Leader of the Opposition, Mr Shorten, we're out of time. And that's absolutely all she could say. The truth of the matter is that the Labor Party is bumbling around in the dark and leaving Australians in the dark about the single biggest threat they're posing right now to jobs and households in Australia, because they are proposing to inflict on the Australian people precisely what Jay Weatherill has done to South Australia and what he described as his great experiment. He called it, Mr Speaker, a great experiment. Well, you know, we know what's happened. The experiments failed. The lights went out. Electricity prices went out. Industries are threatened with closure. People are threatened with losing their jobs. The fact is, it was a trifecta of blunders by the Leader of the Opposition on the radio today. He was asked how he would pay for the NDIS, and he couldn't answer that either. He was asked how he could ensure that outcomes in schools improve, because we know we've been spending more on education and the results are getting worse, and all he could say was spend more money. He has no ability to answer these basic questions which is being put to him. How are you going to protect the jobs, the businesses, the households of Australia when you are proposing to inflict debt and deficit and rising power bills and unreliable power? That's what comes from the Labor Party's ideological approach to economics. They've failed in South Australia, and they would fail Australia if they ever occupied this side of the House.